all of us are. I know the veteran guys are, but I know the rookies and the new free agents are. I was talking to Jacob Tammy. It'll be exciting to play in front of the home crowd. Stokely, I guess it's round 2 for him, but he's still excited. And, heck, having 41,000 for a scrimmage, and, we were just playing the Broncos that day. So, hopefully against Seattle, I would imagine it'd be an even bigger crowd.
That's Peyton Manning, and that's probably also a guy that would be the last guy, you would think, to get caught up in some sort of Ponzi scheme. Peyton Manning just seems like that kind of guy that he's got it all figured out in life, and he doesn't like helicopters chasing him home here in South Florida. If someone went up to you and said, hey, you want to get into the I've got a deal here for you where we're going to sell appliances, we're going to resell appliances and furniture, and I just need you to chip in about $500,000, and I'm going to give you money every single month. What are you going to say?
No thanks.
You're just going to say no thanks?
Well, I'm going to have to see a lot of research and paperwork to make sure this is all legit.
Okay. Well, let's find out more here about what went on with ex-Georgia coach Jim Donnan and the players and coaches involved. Rob Wilson from Blazer Capital Management, who works with a lot of players in the NFL and entertainers. He joins us. Rob, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you guys?
I'm doing fine, too. So Eric the Red, he says that he would ask for lots and lots and lots of paperwork. Is that something that, like, Jim Donnan or whoever runs this kind of Ponzi scheme could probably produce and make a player or coach believe that this is legit?
Probably not, because believe it or not, we work with more than 30 players in the NFL, and these guys are getting pitched all the time with different sort of business opportunities and ideas and so on and so forth. And you would be shocked, or maybe you wouldn't, but by the lack of documentation, business plan, financial spreadsheets and so forth that people put in front of these athletes before getting them to invest in these things. I mean, there doesn't seem to be a whole lot of due diligence. It's folks who are kind of preying on these guys and using the fact that they trust them for one reason or another, be it a family member or a close friend, or in this case, a coach, to say, hey, you trust me, I got this thing going on, why don't you invest in it? And there's really not a lot of due diligence there.
Now, Rob, for something like this to happen, I mean, on this level, we're talking about $80 million. These guys, I would assume, don't have financial advisors? I mean, this stuff can't get passed through a financial advisor, can it? Or are there bad ones out there?
Well, here's the thing, and before I really got into this business, I would look at one of these articles and I would go, well, my goodness, where was the financial advisor in this situation? Or this guy, whoever he's working with, must be terrible. But, I can tell you this. We can work with these guys and we can give them all the advice in the world, but at the end of the day, it's their decision and it's their money. And so I would guess that a lot of these decisions to invest in this thing were made autonomously from the financial advisor if they were working with one at all, or, if they didn't have one, they didn't have anyone who they could trust or go to, or didn't think to have somebody look over all of this paperwork.
Once again, Rob Wilson of Blazer Capital Management, works with a lot of NFL players, entertainers, joining us here on the program. So you've had a lot of guys in the NFL and other places come to you all of the time, I guess, with just documents saying, "Hey, what do you think about this?" Frequently, and I've sat in meetings where people wanted very substantial, investments, $400,000, $500,000, $750,000, and I try to go in these things with an open mind because you never know when the next great big idea might come from. But there were a lot of athletes that were invested in Google, let's say, but I can tell you if they sat down and with some folks who were pitching this Google investment, there was tons of solid information, business planning, financial projections, and so forth that went into this. And a lot of these guys are just slapping something together. Maybe they'll have a PowerPoint slide or two or something like that, and they just want you to go ahead and wire the money.
and that's it. And unfortunately, it's hard to understand, but unfortunately, a lot of these guys are falling for this type of scheme.
Is it almost, Rob, like the email that comes across, hey, look, I won the lottery, and I need you to deposit this, and then you'll get this in your account? You know, the email we get like once or twice a week?
Yeah, it's a little different from that because in that situation, you don't know who the person is. Mm-hmm. It's somebody in Nigeria in a coffee shop, sending you an email, and you don't know who it's from. So chances are you're probably going to delete that. But when this is coming from somebody that you know and you have a relationship, oftentimes it seems that these guys have a problem saying no because these are folks that supported them when they didn't have anything, when they were coming up and training and try to make it to the league. And so I think there's a feeling there that, wow, I've got to do something to give this back. I owe this person something for being there for me.
Are there a lot of guys that come to you, though, with these kind of things where you'll say, yeah, this is legit, this is something good we should get into? Like, is it more than half?
No. I would say the majority of stuff that comes past our desk is crap. or I'll just say this, maybe it's a good idea. But if you don't give us enough information in order to evaluate it, there's no way that I could possibly recommend that this would be something that my client would do. So it could be the greatest idea in the world. But if you don't have the information to back it up, I can't recommend that. So the number of ideas, it's got to be 5 to 10% that are really good ideas and also backed up with the supporting information.
I mean, because the job you do, and anyone in your industry, once again, Rob Wilson of Blazer Capital Management, who deals with a lot of NFL players and entertainers, joining us here on the program. Your deal is, okay, look, I want my player to make a lot of money because then he's going to tell other players, hey, this guy made me a lot of money, and then you're going to get more clients. I mean, that's how it works, right?
Well, I'll take it slightly different than that because a lot of these guys, the top guys, we work with folks who are really high draft picks, number 5 pick in the NFL draft and so forth. These guys have already made it. Now, every NFL contract is not going to allow you to live for the rest of your life. You're a 3rd, 4th round pick. You might get a couple $100,000 signing bonus and you get your salary. That's not something you're going to live the rest of your life on. You're a top pick in the 1st round of the NFL draft. You've already hit a home run. I tell this story a lot. When you're playing baseball and it's the bottom of the 9th and you're down, but when you go up and you score that winning run, the game's over. What are you going to stay out there and playing for when you've already won the game? So big part of what we're trying to do is protect these guys because they've already made it. You don't necessarily need to swing for the fences. This isn't to say that, hey, don't get involved in a business venture, don't do anything, because you see folks like Magic Johnson who've been extremely successful in business after the game. So there are going to be some things that you want to do. But you want to limit that to an amount that, let's just say if it blows up, it's not going to ruin your whole financial life. Look at Warren Sapp now, who's had to go and declare bankruptcy, and he's got his shoe collection on eBay as a part of the bankruptcy settlement. You can't put up so much money and personally guarantee things that if it goes bad, if it goes to zero, when somebody wants to invest in these things, you got to say, listen, if this goes to total zero, is it going to ruin your financial life? And if so, you shouldn't be investing that much into it, especially if you've already made a lot of money and you should be able to live a pretty comfortable life.
What about we heard yesterday, courtesy of Gossip Extra and Jose Lambia, he broke the news, or I guess it's public record, but he researched it. Like Chad Johnson is or was with the Miami Dolphins, now is looking for a new home, but his condo, I guess, is getting foreclosed on because, according to GossipExtra.com, he hasn't paid his maintenance fees in almost 3 years. I mean, are there a lot of guys out there like this? And just what in the world are they doing? I mean, I think of Chad Johnson, Rob. I think, okay, here's a guy with a lot of money. What is he doing not paying his maintenance fees?
Well, here's the thing. You've got these guys who get into these situations. They're very blessed to have a skill to make it at the very top level. But what you also know is that when they've been coming up through AAU and high school and college and out there in the league, no one was talking to these kids about how to manage the financial side of your career. And part of the problem is just because you're good at one thing and you're very good at playing a sport doesn't mean you know everything about everything else. And, this isn't just unique to athletes. You got people like doctors as well who they're very skilled at what they do and they think they know everything about money, and that's not the case. This isn't new. This story came out in Sports Illustrated that said 78% of NFL players are bankrupt or in serious financial straits just 2 years after leaving the league. So this isn't new. No one has talked to these guys and trained them and put this in their minds about how do you handle this money. We've literally worked with guys who are 19, 20, 21 years old, get drafted into the league, never wrote a check before in their life, and now all of a sudden they've got $2 million in the bank. I think that would be very difficult for anyone to handle, let alone somebody with the lifestyle of a professional athlete.
Does this seem to happen a lot more in the NFL than in any other sport? I know we hear a lot about it coming from the NFL. Is there any reason for that, or is it just merely because they have more players on their roster?
There's one top reason, and that's because the NFL contracts are not guaranteed. And so there's also a similar statistic that 60% of NBA players are broke within 5 years. Now, why does it take a little bit longer? Because those contracts are guaranteed. So you sign a contract for 5 years, you're going to get paid for 5 years, and then you've got to, have to figure out what's going to happen after that. So because of the non-guaranteed nature of these contracts, again, we've had situations where we've had guys go from making $5 million a year to making $500,000 very quickly in the blink of an eye. And when you're living a $5 million lifestyle and you have $5 million lifestyle bills, those bills don't change as quickly as your salary can. And the problem is guys have to really understand what their place is in these leagues, especially in the NFL, because they can cut you at any second. When these guys hold out for bigger contracts, I have absolutely no problem with that, because you know what? That team can turn around and cut you at any second. So, yeah, it does seem to be more prevalent in the NFL because those contracts can change very drastically, very quickly.
Rob, how about a guy like Andrew Luck? I mean, we're all thinking, okay, well, Andrew Luck was going to come out the year before last, and he's going to stay in school. I mean, is that – we all look at it like, oh, geez, well, what if he gets hurt and he's going to lose so much money? Like, do you think that's a smart decision?
I was surprised by that decision. I really was. For him to be a top guy like that, for other folks where it's more marginable, maybe you're going to be a mid-round pick, something like that. But when you're talking about the top 1, 2, 3 pick in the draft, I was surprised that he took that risk to come back because, you never know what's going to happen. The money could have changed very drastically. And, maybe that money was going to be there if he got hurt or something. So I was surprised, but I'm glad it worked out in the positive for him.
Rob Wilson, once again, Blazer Capital Management. Thanks for joining us, kind of enlightening us here on what players are doing with their money and just throwing it away and getting into schemes like this one, the $80 million Ponzi scheme. You're also on Twitter, right? What is it, Rob Wilson TV?
Yeah, Rob Wilson TV on Twitter. And guys, I really think, I don't know, you tell me, I think I need to write a book or something to get this message out to these guys, because there's never a lack of these stories. Every time I feel like I've heard it all, there's another story that comes out. Either, guys are going broke or they're not paying their taxes. I don't know. What do you guys think? Do I need to write a book or make a movie, or how do we get this through these guys?
I think you should do both. Too bad you didn't make it before, and then Lenny Dykstra could have read it.
You got that right.
They were trying to sell his dog or something, I think.
Man, he was doing so much stuff and buying cars and not paying for them, and But again, it's that wild sort of breakneck way that he played the game that he also took into his financial life, and the real world just doesn't work that way.
Rob, thanks again for hopping on with us, man. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate it.
Take care.